Welcome to this special show. It's all about awareness on thyroid disorders. Well, there is quite an explosion of information on the big one, diabetes. But how much do we really know about thyroid, and why is it important to know about it? Luckily, we have an eminent panel of doctors with us today to help us understand. I'm Vasanthi Hariprakash, and I'm privileged, of course, to steer this discussion with endocrinologists who have come in from across the country. To my left is Dr. Shashank R. Joshi, and he is an endocrinologist from Lilavati Hospital, Mumbai. He's also the president of the Association of Physicians of India, API. Dr. Shashank Joshi, welcome to the show. To my right is Dr. Mala Dharmalingam. She is a professor of endocrinology from MS Ramaiah Hospital in Bengaluru. She also is a director of the Bengaluru Endocrine Diabetic Center. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mala. We also have with us Dr. Manoj Chadha. He's a consultant endocrinologist with the PD Hinduja Hospital, Mumbai. Welcome, Dr. Manoj, to this show. We have with us Professor Jay Kumar, who comes to us from Amrita Hospital in Kochi. He's also the founder president of the Indian Thyroid Society. Now, let me start with you, Dr. Shashank. The understanding of thyroid gland, as I see it, I mean, this butterfly-shaped gland, seemingly innocuous, but has such a dramatic implication on so many body functions. So I really want you to say in very simple terms, what is thyroid and what would you call a thyroid disorder?
Thyroid gland is right in front of your neck, as you rightly said, and it's a butterfly shaped gland. And it actually makes two nice chemicals. And these two chemicals are nothing but T3 and T4.
Right.
And these T3 and T4 chemicals go in every cell of our body, and they charge our cells, the mitochondria of the cells. So they are the true metabolic energizers of our cells, and that is controlled by a tiny little gland in the just little ahead of the brain called pituitary gland, which makes the thyroid stimulating hormone TSH. So TSH actually makes the thyroid gland work, make T3, T4, and these T3, T4 or the thyroid hormones go to every cell of our body and charge those cells, just like a cell battery charger. And if the charging is good and too much, then it's hyperthyroidism.
Right.
And if it's too less, or there is thyroid deficiency, it is hypothyroidism. These are the two common disorders. And sometimes the gland can get swollen up, and we call it goiter. So this is the conglomerate of thyroid disorders.
Right.
When there is a malfunction of the structure or the function of the hormone production or of a little swelling in front of the neck.
Too much or too less, clearly both are problem scenarios. Now, Professor Jaykumar, what is the prevalence of thyroid disorders as far as India is concerned? I mean, even gender-wise, age-wise, what's the picture?
I think thyroid disease is the second most common endocrine disorder after diabetes. Diabetes may be in the present in all the country in the range of about 13 to 14%. But when it comes to thyroid disease, of the available data, there are two data already accepted. One is 9% work done in Cochin, and other is 11% work done all over India. So roughly we'll take around 10%.
So does it mean to say that every 11th person in India
yes,
would be?
Every 1 in 10 to 11% will have some form of thyroid disease. But remember, the incidence of thyroid disease varies with age and sex. Females as a whole has got a higher chance of getting thyroid disease, whatever form of thyroid disease.
Right.
And if it is so, what is the reason? Because the commonest cause of thyroid disease is autoimmune disorder.
Okay.
That is your own body destroyed your own cells in the body, and that is called autoimmune disease. Autoimmune diseases are as a whole more common in females. So that may be the reason why females get more of thyroid disease. The other thing to remember is that thyroid disease run in families, not a father to or mother to child transmission.
It wouldn't be what you call hereditary.
It's not hereditary,
Yes.
but it is a more association is there with some HLA association. Autoimmune diseases are more common in one family.
But let me come to you, Dr. Manoj. When it comes to the kinds of thyroid, we have heard about hypo and hyper. But the more common one would be hypo?
That's right. I mean, if you look at in terms of percentage, probably hypothyroidism is nearly 10 times more than what we see in hyperthyroidism. And yes, we have to look for hypothyroidism in the population.
So the symptoms would be to watch out for?
As we started off saying that thyroid hormone is necessary for the functioning of each and every organ system in the body.
Right.
So you could have patients presenting with just about anything, something as vague as unexplained weight gain, unexplained hair loss, lack of energy, feeling very tired right at the beginning of the day, to defect in the abdominal system, loss of appetite, constipation. You could go about saying that there could be swelling on the body. Very often females in the reproductive age could go to their gynecologist for irregular periods or infertility. A neurologist could have a presentation with some muscle disorders. One common thing that we should also look for is hypothyroidism is a important treatable cause of depression. So we should look for depression, and in depressed patients we should look for hypothyroidism.
That's really interesting what you're bringing up. I'm sure Dr. Shashank, you can add to that. When, I mean, depression is so much in the news these days. I mean, we have even actors who have, come out with it, and there's more awareness. Having said that, you are saying that if a person is having symptoms of depression, it is better to first check for thyroid.
Correct, because this is a treatable cause. And as Manoj rightly said, see, mind and body is closely linked.
Right.
And for mind to have a clear flow of thought, you need adequate thyroxine on board. So to have clarity of thought, to have a positive thinking,
Right.
you need adequate thyroxine on board. So stress, which is a part, an integral part of our lives today, clearly impacts autoimmunity, and that in turn triggers a lot of neuropsychiatric disturbances.
Right.
And depression is at the prime of it. And therefore, if you are depressed, many a times you could be having underlying hypothyroidism, as he rightly pointed out.
Without having any further psychiatric
Absolutely. And
disorders.
many people go from pillar to post to psychiatrist, and they actually have underlying hypothyroidism. So therefore, both ways you need to screen to do the TSH, because remember, no sign, no symptom is sine qua non to say that A or B has hypothyroidism.
Right.
It is important to do tests, and these tests are a blood draw. So you just draw maybe a small 1 or 2 ml of blood and do FT3, FT4, TSH, and you can also do the antibody test.
Right.
And if you show that there is an abnormality, there are the symptoms, you correlate the both, and an endocrinologist will look after that.
One thing which Dr. Manoj did not include is that children, the side effect will be lack of putting on height. Not putting on
Okay.
height,
Short
and also short stature. So any child not growing adequately must be tested for thyroid,
Right,
hypothyroid.
right.
And one more thing is that I told that the newborn children, 1 in 1,500 have hypothyroidism, or the congenitally from birth it is absent. That is very important to make a diagnosis as early as possible. Because first 3 years of life, this thyroid hormone is necessary for the brain development.
Fortunately, in a child, it is not that difficult to pick up, unlike in an adult, which is very innocuous and comes just very mildly, and you can miss it for many years. In a child, a good pediatrician, let's not even talk about endocrinologists, can pick up those symptoms if looked carefully at the first pediatric visit.
What is the kind of time frame in such cases?
Thyroid treatment is very simple. It's just that the gland or the factory is shut. It's not making adequate hormone. You just give a simple pill from outside first thing in the morning on empty stomach, and the half-life is 7 days. So within 2 to 3 weeks, you feel normalizing. Within a month, you feel you start losing weight and you get your energy back. So you get your buoyancy and charge, and your metabolism gets fixed, as they say. And therefore, within 2 to 4 weeks, you can see a change happening in the human being, and it is quite dramatic. And also, as I said, if it's a small child, like Dr. Jayakumar was alluding to,
Right.
they start gaining their height. Okay, they feel more energetic. Okay, their overall performance, both emotional, intelligence, as well as overall improves.
Dr. Shashank, if a person's thyroid disorder is diagnosed but not treated, what is the risk?
So if it is diagnosed and not treated, and if it's hypothyroidism, then you will keep on gaining weight, you will bloat, you will have zero energy, and sometimes even patients can go into coma.
Oh,
So it's important to treat. And remember, this is a natural substance which we are giving in a form of a tablet.
Right.
So it's very easy to treat it. And somebody has excess hormone, hyperthyroidism, and he doesn't treat, or she doesn't treat herself. Then you can get fast heartbeat, you can get a arrhythmia called atrial fibrillation,
Okay.
you can get a large heart, you can get heart failure. So it is very important that once you have diagnosed, you should treat. The second problem which a lot of people do is that they get diagnosed, they start treatment, the values become normal, and then they stop treatment.
okay.
And later on, they come back after 1 or 2 years, and then they have the lipid profiles are abnormal, they are depressed, their physical activity is low,
Because
they are
in between
bloated
they-
on, they are put on 20-30 kilograms of weight, and then it is very difficult to reverse it. It is still treatable, but it should not be not left untreated.
So even
because
the-
it's a very treatable condition,
Right.
and because it's such a treatable condition, I think it will be a tragedy to leave it untreated.
So even if a person is feeling normal in between treatment and almost feels okay, I'm cured, the important message is do not stop treatment.
Absolutely.
Right. That's
I just wanted to add something.
Sure.
here. We were talking about the heart, but especially in the postmenopausal women with hyperthyroidism, extra thyroid hormone eats up the bones.
Oh,
So
okay.
they are postmenopausal, so they're anyway having bone loss. And on top of that, if they have extra thyroid hormone, they're more prone to fractures.
Right.
So
right.
that's the other very important reason for
Absolutely.
hyperthyroidism.
Now, this is as far as adults are concerned. Dr. Jaikumar, what's it with the risk with a child not treated?
As you know, thyroid hormone is required for the growth and development of the child. So if a newborn child is not treated, the mental retardation will take place. If a child of 7 or 8 or 10-year-old diagnosis is made, not treated, he or she will not put on the height, and by the time 10, 11, 12 years, the pubertal developments get delayed, or they can even have early puberty also.
Right. So that is a condition and consequence. It's totally not worth it, especially when there are so many options available for treatment and of course the following medication. Well, one thing which has certainly come up is why we need to really screen and especially a newborn for thyroid. But I want to shift the focus a bit to the rural picture. I mean, we've heard that thyroid is a lifestyle disorder. And therefore, is the picture any different for villages and small towns? What is your experience, Dr. Mala?
As far as prevalence is concerned, I don't think there may be a difference between urban and rural, unless stress is more in the urban, and that is why it is more common. But unfortunately, we don't have any data to substantiate this. But we do see more undiagnosed patients coming in from the rural part of the country, because possibly the screening is less over there, but the prevalence may be somewhat similar.
But actually, very frankly, this rural-urban divide is getting blurred very fast,
Okay.
because I think there are ability to test thyroid blood test is now reached to the remotest village of India.
Okay.
And therefore, I don't think, as Dr. Mala rightly said, the percentage of undiagnosed in a rural population is probably a little more
Right.
than urban population. But stress is everywhere, whether it's rural or urban India. And I think this distinction will get blurred very quickly.
Right, that
And
could
it's
then-
really not like a lifestyle disorder based on eating or food or exercise. Thyroid is much beyond that. It is autoimmune, and therefore its manifestation is very different from, say, a diabetic disease.
Diabetes,
It's important to recognize that. Therefore, I would not class thyroid technically as a lifestyle disorder. I would say it's an autoimmune disorder, as Professor Jaikumar said.
So which means therefore that while you speak about diabetes, things that you can do to avoid diabetes, there is not really something which you can do to avoid thyroid?
Yes.
Yes, you are absolutely right. You can treat it. It's a simple pill for life, but technically autoimmunity, once it sets, you may defer or delay, but you will not be able to avoid it.
Right.
Okay, so somebody is destined to have thyroid will get thyroid. It is not something like diabetes that you make a lifestyle correction and you're good. and you can prevent diabetes. It's a little different.
Right, but the good news of course is that it is treatable. What about the connection with BP? Because hypertension, again, one of the most prevalent conditions that we see in our country. So what is the link, or is there a linkage really between the two?
Actually, there is no linkage directly between hypertension and thyroid. There is linkage with depression, there is linkage with lipid disorders.
Right.
For example, if you have a cholesterol abnormality, then there is a link. So the high cholesterol could just be because of high TSH or hypothyroidism.
Okay.
And you just correct the thyroxine, you don't need to take a cholesterol pill at all, or you don't need to take a dietary modification. So that is directly linked. Hypertension per se is not having a direct link.
In terms of the awareness itself, I think we need to spend more time. After all, this discussion is all about the lack of awareness. In a country like the US of A, for instance, I'm told that, you know, if it's 30 million as a population that suffers from thyroid disorders, and half of them are undiagnosed. Now, what therefore needs to be done in a country like ours, where the figures might be even more drastic? Why, you know, in terms of raising awareness, what would your suggestions be?
I think I personally feel that all the physicians must be updated about the thyroid problem. When they come, as Dr. Manoj has said, that people with hypothyroidism come with vague symptoms. So don't forget about thyroid disease.
I'm going to interrupt you at this point of stage and come to
Let
you.
me add. See, I was just thinking back about, I was a registrar about 30 years ago, and to get a thyroid hormone test in the hospital, I am from KEM Hospital, Mumbai, you needed my permission.
Oh, okay.
It was so difficult to get a test. Today things have changed. Like you do a CBC or a sugar, you can do a thyroid test at practically every second lab. So, you know, the awareness that what we are discussing has to increase. The frequency of testing in so-called normal, asymptomatic or vaguely symptomatic patients has to increase.
But
I have enough patients who actually go on internet, look and think that they have thyroid, and they just go and do a blood test and come to us. And
Okay.
that's really happening, as Manoj rightly
so
said.
is that a good thing? Is
Very
that?
good.
It's a double-edged
I
sword.
mean, for
that
people,
No, I think it's a good thing, because I think this is going to change quality of life by early diagnosis.
right.
And if you are going to diagnose early, you can treat it early.
That could so clearly be the game changer. Easy to screen, easy to treat. I think those are some aspects that we really need to remember. But going towards the end of this discussion, now we've spoken about babies being and the need to screen them at birth for thyroid. What is the linkage during pregnancy, thyroid function and pregnancy?
It is very important to diagnose hypothyroidism in pregnancy because it affects the baby. Now, when I'm telling hypothyroidism in pregnancy, it does not mean what we are talking in general public, where the TSH is quite high at about 10.
Okay.
In pregnancy, the cutoff ranges are much lower, and anything more than 2.5 would be thought of as, especially in the first 3 months, as important to treat the mother for hypothyroidism, because at that time we are talking about slightly higher levels. So if the mother is not adequately treated, then what can be the consequences? There will be consequences to both the fetus as well as to the mother. The
right.
mother can have BP, blood pressure during pregnancy, which we call PIH, pregnancy-induced hypertension. She could have a cesarean section, or she could also have problems, or rather there will be pregnancy losses. And for the baby, it is very important, the thyroid hormone is important for the brain development. So it is important that also the baby gets adequate thyroid hormone through pregnancy. Though the thyroid gland starts appearing by the 10th week of the fetal life, it does not really function fully till about the 5th to 7th month. So it's adequate. It is important that the adequate thyroid hormone comes from the mother to the baby.
Right. So the risk of not diagnosing or not treating, you have placed that. But you know, finally, I just want to have your collective thoughts, each one of you, if you can do that. You know, in terms of the patients who come to you, and in your experience of seeing what the cycle of thyroid has been in this country particularly, what is it that you know, you would want to tell people who are watching this program? What is that key takeaway?
I think Shashank used a good dialogue. You have to start thinking about thyroid because it's easy to diagnose, and once diagnosed, it's easy to treat. And you do need supervision. It may not necessarily be an expert. It could be your family physician next door. But go to him regularly, take your medications as prescribed, An annual checkup also may be enough in most of the cases.
What about you, Dr. Shashank? What's your experience? What
we
are the
are-
kind of people who come to you?
So
with
we are
these?
actually at the peak of the autoimmune epidemic in our country. This is what happened when iodinization was completed in Europe in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And we are actually seeing in this decade and the next decade the peak of thyroid disorders. So you will see a lot more thyroid being discussed, diagnosed and treated.
Right. Dr. Mala, as a wrap up, though we have spoken about it, at the risk of repeating, would you really like to stress on the different tests that people can and must avail of to diagnose thyroid, particularly women?
They are very simple tests, and the tests that we do are T3, T4 and TSH, which is the hormones that are secreted both from the thyroid gland and the pituitary. If want of money, even a simple thyroid stimulating hormone or a TSH test is enough.
Now, the final question to you, and this is something which is related to what she's been saying. A person diagnosed with a thyroid disorder, is it possible for her or him to lead what's called a normal life?
Yes, definitely. He or she, once is diagnosed with hypothyroidism, properly diagnosed and properly treated, can have a normal life just like any other person. Lastly, I think if you close this session only talking about hypothyroidism, it is little unfair.
Incomplete?
A small percentage of people have got hyperthyroidism, the opposite side, and that also can be treated. But there it is not lifelong treatment. It is
It's of a
drugs.
much shorter cycle, are you saying?
It is around 18 months treatment with drugs or some surgery or radioiodine. There are different forms are
So
available.
that's the place where Professor Jaykumar was saying you need to see an endocrinologist.
We
to know-
must
you
really
must get some
know
treatment options.
in terms of the treatment options for hyperthyroidism.
In hyperthyroidism, there are three options. Medical treatment, that is with drugs, for a finite period, 12 to 18 months. Then there is surgical treatment, so you stabilize the patient, make him euthyroid or make her euthyroid, and then send her for surgery. And the third treatment, which is popular in certain pockets in the country, and that is giving radioactive iodine.
And I think as all of you have been stressing on the fact that it is very patient friendly. I mean, it's not something which is so dramatically going to alter your lifestyle or something which needs a lot of investment or even an emotional change. And I guess that is really a good news to wrap on when it comes to thyroid and thyroid disorders. It is treatable. So screen early, treat early. If there is one crucial message from this discussion that we have had, that is for thyroid to be really tackled and with not much stress. We thank you once again for joining us on this discussion.